Greetings, fellow English teachers. My name is Jaime Fabricio Mejia Mayorga, and I'm English teacher as well. And today I'm going to be sharing with you a presentation that I have prepared as part of this international conference for teachers of English. And I'm going to go ahead then and share my presentation. So the title of my presentation is Prioritizing Well-Being Before, Now, and Always. As you know, we have been experiencing for quite a while now the effects of a pandemic. And at least to me, it has made me think on how, as an English teacher, I can help my students feel comfortable and pursue a happy and healthy life. And I have concluded that, in fact, as an educator, this is a responsibility that I have and that I think, and probably, I'm guessing right, all of you feel that you have as well. And that's why I have titled this presentation this way, Prioritizing Well-Being Before, Now, and Always. So my presentation is inspired by the work of indigenous scholars such as Gregory Cajete. He's a Native American from the United States of America, and he has a lot of articles and books that are really, really interesting. And I have learned from him how to take a look at education from an indigenous perspective. And in all honesty, what I have learned from his work is that education is a matter of well-being. And within our fields of SLA, TESOL, and language education, there's a movement also taking place, which is that one of positive psychology. And I have informed my understanding of well-being by the work of these scholars, of these people, and I will share in this presentation with all of you my understanding of how well-being is an essential component for success in language learning and teaching and in life in general, right? And I'm going to share also the things I've been doing as a classroom teacher, and hopefully by the end of this presentation, you have something practical and tangible that you can go to your classrooms and apply. Before I continue, and this is a practice that I have learned while I have been in the United States pursuing graduate education, is that we all are connected and we all are related. And well-being is also a collective matter, not only an individual one. So in that spirit, I would like to uh, share a land acknowledgement, and that begins with acknowledging that we are who we are because of the land, which is the one that sustains us, and also the fact that this land is indigenous land. It is the land of the Lenca, of the Chortí, of the Tolupan, of the Pech, of the Tahuaca, of the Miskito, also of the Garifuna, of the Islanders, and of the Chorotega people. Honduras, as well as the whole American continent, is indigenous land. And I say this because maybe understanding who we are, where we come from, and in who are the people who have been in the lands we reside, actually who are the owners of that land, that's also that can help us also pursue well-being and understand life in general. But coming back to well-being, as I said, well-being is not only an individual matter, but it is also a collective one. And well-being can be understood as that uh, state of feeling happy and feeling healthy and feeling comfortable with everything around you. And it is not complicated, right? I feel like these times have really, really shown us that there is so much to pay attention to when it comes to our health and when it comes to our feelings of happiness. And of course, well-being is not only a matter of feeling happy all the time, but it's also like understanding that there is this balance of happiness and sadness. And so what to do when we're feeling sad, and in order to pursue happiness. From the work of indigenous scholar Gregory Cajete, I have learned that the ideal purpose of education is to attain knowledge, seek truth, wisdom, and completeness in life. And I was thinking that this connects really well with this idea of well-being, of that of feeling happy, of that of feeling healthy, and of that of feeling comfortable. And he also shared with us that the ultimate goal of indigenous education was to be fully knowledgeable about one's innate spirituality. So well-being, besides being something internal in the sense of how you feel, is also something spiritual that goes deeper to the things we understand about this life, right? And it also, as I said, has a connotation of being something of the collective, right? And I also appreciated that he said that education was a journey or is a journey for learning how to be fully human. And it's about people striving to always think the highest thought, which means thinking of oneself, one's community, and one's environment richly. And well-being is also captured in that quote, because again, if we feel fine, if we feel happy, if we feel comfortable, we also are going to have like a ripple effect that is going to reach our relatives or the people in our communities and also the people in our environment. So I guess what I'm sharing these quotes with you so that we can understand that education is more than just learning how to use a language, or is more than learning and memorizing content, stuff from subject matter. It goes beyond, and education is about like really, really learning how to live a happy and healthy life. And I feel like all of us have come to this conclusion that during the time we were confined, we were quarantined, we were wondering like, how is it possible that we are doing so many things that are basically senseless? They don't have any sense at all. And I think it is because as a people, we have been so caught up into the how-tos, and we have gotten away from that which is basic and which is so, so important to keep in our hearts and in our minds, which is that of living a happy and healthy life. So my desire is that by having these conversations and creating these spaces where we talk about well-being, we start framing things in this way, framing things in love, in happiness, in healthy, in justice, and in having an experience in this world that is harmonious with oneself, with others, and with one's environment. And well-being is actually that, right? I would love to see you having those connections. And scholar Gregory Cajete also taught us in this book, which is called Look to the Mountain, an Ecology of Indigenous Education, that the people understood that the community's continuity was carried within each individual, making each individual needed in the perpetuation of the life of the community. There was a place for everyone, the child, the adult, the old ones, the mentally impaired, the he, she. Each person had something to offer, a special gift, and was allowed to participate to some extent in the life of their community. And so in this conversation of well-being, something that is before and now and always, that is always present, that has always been present, we also have to understand that all of us contribute to each other's well-being. We are connected. We have so many things that we share with each other on a daily basis. And so really, really understanding that principle of life, that we are related, that we are connected, can help us pursue and prioritize well-being. I love this quote because, you know, something about well-being also is having purpose in life. And again, right, it might be that nowadays, because we are confined still in our places, we are sitting in front of computers like for a long, long time, each and every single day, we tend to forget that all of us should pursue something in life and that all of us have purpose. And so this quote also makes me think that because we all of us have purpose, each of us should remind each other that we have that purpose and that all of us, no matter how old, no matter how young, no matter who you are, you have a purpose in this life and your contributions can help make this world a better world. And the question that I have for you now that I'm like going to close this conversation is, how can you frame in your English language classes those principles? How can you bring community? How can you bring this principle of purpose in life, of meaning in life into your instruction? Of course, I'm not going to tell you how to, right? Maybe in another occasion, but I trust in you as English teachers, as fellow colleagues. And so I know that you're going to come up with innovative ways to start doing these things. Now, specifically when it comes to English language learning and teaching, I have encountered this framework, which is called Empathics, and it was introduced by Rebecca Oxford. And this framework captures many principles from positive psychology. Positive psychology is a movement within the psychology field that talks about how people thrive and flourish. So instead of focusing on the negative that people experience, which has been the tradition of psychology as an academic and scientific field, positive psychology is trying to focus on the positive, on the good things, on the things that people are doing and that are working out for them. And in that way of living a happy and healthy life. So Rebecca Oxford in 2016 introduced the Empathics Framework. And this framework says, okay, these are the dimensions that we should be taking a look at if we want our English language learners to thrive and flourish in our classrooms. We need to pay attention to emotions. We also need to pay attention to empathy. We also need to talk about meaning and motivation. Also talk about perseverance, like how students develop hope, resilience, and optimism. How agency and autonomy are developed, are acquired, take place in the classrooms. We also need to pay attention to time, to habits of mind, to intelligences, to character strengths, and to self factors, such as self-efficacy and self-image and self-perception. And so it is a very inclusive and complete framework. Many of these things we might be familiar with, such as motivation and agency and intelligences, but some others are completely new. For example, time, understanding that learning a language takes time. And so how can we then, as English teachers, inform our instruction considering all these dimensions? Of course, it's a big task, but what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to share my approach to well-being as I have been informed by this knowledge that I have gotten from reading the work of Gregory Cajete and also the work published by scholars working on this movement of positive psychology in language learning and teaching. What do I do in my classroom to really prioritize and promote well-being? Well, first, I do that a lot with curriculum design. As I'm preparing my syllabi, as I am preparing, the schedule for the courses and the activities, I love to be explicit about my intentions as a language teacher. For the last 2 years, I have been teaching at the University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona, in the United States. And this is what I included in the syllabus that I share with my students. I am a strong advocate and believer of having positive relationships and emotions in the classroom. I try to incorporate principles of positive psychology in my teaching so students and myself can feel encouraged, appreciated, loved, understood, and motivated to thrive and flourish as individuals and as members of a learning community. Therefore, you will experience a relaxed, welcoming, and fun class every time you enter our classroom. I really hope that you enjoy our time together and that you become aware of your emotional self as well as the emotional selves of others. Learning, besides being a cognitive endeavor, is also an emotional one. I am very explicit about my approach to teaching, and I feel that when students are exposed to this statement whenever they are reading the syllabus, they get a feeling of how I'm going to develop my classes. And again, the whole purpose to me as an instructor is to see my students succeed. I want them to be happy and to live happy and healthy lives. Also, I want them to perform well academically, but there is a strong relationship in those two components, feeling well, feeling good, and having academic success. So this is something that I do from the very beginning. I also like to think about a couple of things whenever I am designing my syllabi. And I have created this chart with questions, with guiding questions that are following the dimensions of the empathics framework. When do I do that? When I'm preparing my syllabus. My syllabus. Well, my syllabi in plural because I teach multiple classes. So when it comes to emotion and empathy, to what extent will my course provide spaces for emotions to be felt and dealt with? Am I ready to deal with unexpected emotions in the classroom? What assignments might instigate emotions? And to what extent am I considering being empathetic to my students? In what situations? Do I promote empathy in my classroom, understanding each other? If so, how do I do it? Is my class, when it comes to meaning and motivation, a meaningful learning experience? Is it full of meaningful content and activities? And in what ways could my class contribute to students' meaning of life? These are the questions that I ask myself most of the time when I am preparing classes and when I'm teaching them too. Do I motivate students? In what other ways can I contribute to their motivation? When it comes to perseverance, which can be understood as hope, resilience, and optimism, do I provide opportunities for students to persevere? Do I give them second chances? Do I use language or discourse that promotes hope, resilience, and optimism? You got this, you can do it. No worries about it. You're gonna like succeed. Take your time. Let me know if you need extra help. Those are the things we need to be explicit about. When it comes to agency and autonomy, to what extent do I treat my students as the adults they are? And I'm saying this, I'm reading this question because I have worked with higher education, college students mostly, but this can also be a question applicable to teenagers and children like who are 9 to 12 years old. As the individuals they are, do I provide opportunities for them to become agents of their own actions? Do I interact with them in ways that showcase their agency? And do I allow them to be autonomous learners? Do I provide opportunities for them to figure things out, right? Also, when it comes to time, and I feel like this is such important for us as language teachers because, and this is something that students also need to understand, that learning a language is going to take some time. So am I realistic that 1 or 2 semesters might have little to no effect on students' language development? I have writing performance in here because that's the class that I was teaching at that time. Am I aware that students are taking other courses, are working, and have other responsibilities in their daily lives? Right? As I said, I have been working with young adults and adults most of my academic and professional life. So this is a question that I always ask myself. Am I aware that their lives are not, revolving around the class that I'm teaching them, right? Are my assignments, am I also as well respectful of students' time? And do I share with my students the importance of time for completing assignments and completing other activities? Because again, right, well-being is not only about permissive, it's not only about being permissive, but it is about being honest and really having honest conversations. Are you really, really considering being more careful when it comes to time. When it comes to habits of mind, what habits of mind am I promoting in my course? What other habits am I promoting in the classroom? Healthy living, healthy eating, healthy financial living, so many things that we can take a look at. When it comes to intelligences, do I plan class activities thinking in the intelligences students possess? Do I include music? Do I include movement? Do I include things that are more reflective or things that are completed alongside with others? And when it comes to character strengths, do I provide opportunities for students to use their strengths individually and collectively? And for self factors, what class activities could help students take a look at themselves? How can I contribute to students' sense of self? How can I help them understand who they are, right? I also, what I do in my classrooms is that I am explicit about the things that I say. I use classroom discourse that explicitly touches on well-being. So I am explicit about well-being. When I talk about it, I say we all need to deserve, we all deserve and have the need to live a happy and healthy life. I say positive things when I'm talking to them. And if I'm not feeling well, or if someone is not feeling well, or if the situation, the context, right? Because again, all things are related and we all are connected. I acknowledge those moments when things are not feeling right as well. That's part of well-being, finding those mechanisms to cope. I'm also very encouraging. As I said, you got this, you can do it. I'm here for you. Your family counts on you. Your friends know you will do it. You have the strength within you. Those words and phrases, they help students develop resilience, optimism, and hope. That's something that I learned from my master's capstone project. I did a small scale research project about how a language learner was developing resilience, optimism, and hope. And that's what I discovered, that those words and phrases do have such a meaningful impact into the way students experience these things in the classroom. And also, because again, well-being is not only, is not something that is not real, it is real. And as real as many other things in life, we need to make sure that we bring that real life to the classroom. Let's invite special guests. Let's have people that can not only talk about a specific subject, but can share life experiences. Let's talk about complex topics in class and ways to cope and deal with the complexities of life as well. And this is something that I really, really love. And again, this is tied to classroom discourse on the side of the students, providing them with opportunities to express themselves. Self-expression is such an important thing for feeling good, for feeling happy, for feeling well, for feeling comfortable. So let's include those activities. If, for example, you want to know how much a student learned, at the end of a class, ask students to say, ask students to create a piece of art and ask them to explain how that piece of art represents all of their learning. And also provide opportunities for them to reflect on their lives, and not only in their academic lives, but also in their general lives. And again, the classroom is just another place where people are interacting. Prioritizing well-being is just another thing that we do as humans. It's another activity that we people have been engaging in for millennia. So I have this resource for you. You can open your cameras if you have iPhones and scan directly this QR code. And if not, I moved a little bit the camera so you can see it better. And if not, you can also download a QR code reader on your phones. You can go to the App Store, download it. You're gonna be directed to a Google document that has some resources or some of my experiences in prioritizing well-being in the classroom. It's a handout, so hopefully you can access it without any problem. And I hope that after this conversation, you have some practical things on what you can do to prioritize well-being. As I said, Prioritizing well-being in the language classroom and in education in general is something that is from the past, is relevant now, and it's always going to be relevant. So let's prioritize well-being. Let's try to create experiences in our classrooms, and not only in our classrooms, in our institutions, in our communities, in our families, that have everyone thinking the fact that we need to live a happy and healthy life. That's the purpose of life, my friends. I am so happy to have been with you in this occasion, on this occasion. Thankfully, despite COVID, despite the pandemic, and despite all the circumstances, we are able to come together. And I thank you so much for your attention. Let's make this world a better world. No matter what things we are experiencing, we still have the power to make things better. Okay. And this is something we need to pass along. Thank you so much and have a good one. Bye bye.